If you've followed my work, you know that I consider omega-3 fish oil to be an indispensable part of my daily regimen, and that I've recommended it for my patients and followers for decades. If you're already taking omega-3s, you should know that I've discovered a product so special that it's become my go-to brand. Dr. Jeffrey Bland, one of the luminaries in the world of complementary health, takes omega-3s to a new level. Omega-3 Rejuvenate from Big Bold Health is a premium blend of pure oils from wild-caught Alaskan cod and sockeye salmon, sourced from the pristine waters of Alaska. Unlike most other brands, Omega-3 Rejuvenate does it differently. The product comes straight from the sea into the hands of skilled fishermen, instantly flash frozen, and taken to their specially designed shoreside plant using a low-heat technique to extract the pure amber omega oil that contains all natural and abundant full-spectrum omega-3s, including EPA, DHA, as well as DPA, plus all natural vitamins A and D, and naturally occurring pro-resolving mediators to support cardiovascular, cognitive, and immune health. Their unique process preserves the natural goodness of the fish, so you get maximum benefits in every soft gel. No fillers, no shortcuts, just pure, potent wellness. Visit bigboldhealth.com/Hoffman and experience the difference. That's bigboldhealth.com/Hoffman for Omega-3 Rejuvenate. Use coupon code Hoffman for 20% off site-wide. Welcome back to today's Intelligent Medicine Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Ronald Hoffman, and we're answering your questions. Questions can come to questions@drhoffman.net, or if you prefer, call 877-726-8255 and record a question, which we'll answer on our Intelligent Medicine radio show, which is heard Saturdays from noon to 2. 877-726-8255 gets you to record a question or gets you on the live show if you call during the broadcast. Go ahead.
All right, we've got an email from Sue. I was diagnosed with EPI, which is Exocrine Pancreatic Insufficiency. Is that right?
Yep.
EPI?
Yep.
I was diagnosed with EPI and prescribed Creon, which is incredibly expensive. I'm on Medicare, and it's costing a small fortune. Plus, I'm not sure how effective it is since my symptoms continue. Wow, even on Creon. I've been looking at some of the over-the-counter enzymes, both porcine and vegan, but it's very hard to compare since the units are often different, and there's no way of knowing which products are trustworthy. There's pure encapsulations, there's vital nutrients, digestive gold.
I'm just looking this up, and I'm kind of surprised at this because it's a digestive enzyme that's derived from, I believe, pork.
Mm-hmm.
And according to this, with a good RX coupon at Rite Aid, it cost $1,094.
Oh my
So
goodness.
I was wondering,
That's
I've seen
ridiculous.
ads for EPI on TV.
Mm-hmm.
And generally, when there are ads for something on TV, it's going to be for something that makes it worthwhile to spend a lot of advertising dollars on TV. So I didn't realize, I thought, it's just digestive enzymes. Like, why are they advertising digestive enzymes? For some reason, they got a price lock on that. I mean, probably the ingredients are not that expensive. It's just that they've got a patent on it, and it's available as a brand.
Follow patents.
I think that, so first of all, I think EPI is real. Mm-hmm. And I've been actually addressing it since the beginning of my medical career. Some people just don't have enough digestive enzymes. So we give them digestive enzymes, which are available over the counter for like maybe $20 or something like that, for like 60 or 100, I don't know. And they may not be as potent as Creon, truth be told, but you simply can take maybe a few more with a meal.
Yeah.
Now, Creon is broad spectrum. It has proteases, it has lipase, which breaks down fat. So there are different types of digestive enzymes. Some of them are plant-based, vegetarian, and others are animal-based. Mm-hmm. And Creon is animal-based. Now, the plant-based ones, they work pretty well, but they don't work that well for fat digestion. Mm-hmm. So, typical symptoms of EPI, you eat a fatty meal and you have like oily stool because you're not breaking down the fat. Yeah. It's mostly about fat intolerance, but it can be any kind of IBS diarrhea. The problem is, I think there's not a lot of precision in diagnosing EPI. I think gastroenterologists can do stool tests to see if you have a lot of fat in your stool. We do digestive profiles on people where we can find out if they have a lot of, undigested food particles,
Mm-hmm.
or one of the things to look at is elastase. The presence of that suggests, not enough digestive capacity.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But, often it's a mixed bag. It's like, why do you have irritable bowel or diarrhea? Well, maybe you have a messed up microbiome.
Yeah.
You have dysbiosis. Maybe
Yeah.
you need to, maybe you have a food intolerance.
Right.
So it doesn't mean like, you take the Creon and like it's all fine
Right.
when you're eating like, a pepperoni pizza all the time.
Yeah. Maybe you've been taking a PPI for so long,
That's
and that messes you up.
Yeah. Maybe you have SIBO.
Maybe you have
small
SIBO.
intestinal bacterial
Right.
overgrowth. Right.
Maybe you've been on too many rounds of antibiotics
Yes.
in the past for whatever reasons.
Yeah.
That's messed your microbiome.
Yeah. And so that's why she took it, and it's expensive. It's not helping that much. So then maybe she needs to explore other routes towards improving her digestion.
Yeah.
She could also try, but if the Creon's not working, it's not that likely that these other maybe less potent things that are available over the counter
Yeah.
are working.
Yeah.
Are going to work for her.
My question to Sue is, what other medications are you taking that may be causing the EPI,
Yeah.
if anything? Or what other, or how are you
And it
eating?
could be simply, like, don't stop eating wheat or stop taking dairy or,
Exactly. Yeah. Make sure you're getting enough minerals. We need zinc and salt for the parietal cells in the stomach to secrete enough acid,
Okay.
for example, which is very interesting to the, not having to do with pancreatic enzymes, but just starting there
Yeah.
is something. In other words, salt your meat and eat it. If you want some good stomach acid for starters.
I think, a really good gastroenterologist can do some detective work and figure this out. But I generally am partial to integrative doctors who are more focused on, subtle causes of gastro conditions.
Yeah.
Like if you have, ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease, you may want to see a gastro, or you should be seeing a gastro,
Yes.
because they might prescribe powerful medications that can put out the fire. But
Yeah.
with these sort of subtle conditions, they sometimes don't do so well. They'll say, take some psyllium, they like this notion of prescribing a medication because, it kind of fits the paradigm, like, this is the diagnosis, we'll give you a prescription medication.
Sue needs a good evaluation of her diet, find out what's there that is causing this problem in her, and maybe do some kind of an elimination, at the very least, just for starters.
Yeah.
An evaluation.
One of my early
of that.
books, 7 Weeks to a Settled Stomach, was written many years ago, but it could be a good starting point for this. Silly.
Okay. Okay. Oh, here's a question.
Oh, good point which to pause, because we owe our sponsors an opportunity to share an important message. So let's do that now.
Kids don't just bring home homework, they bring home germs. And those germs don't just stay with them, they spread to the whole household. That's why Clear Nasal Spray was created by a practicing physician to give parents and grandparents peace of mind. You may not think about it, but your nose is filtering out a semi-truck full of air every single day. Clear isn't just another spray. It creates an additional layer of protection in your nose that blocks bacteria and viruses before they can even take hold. Yes, even that virus. Supporting your body's defenses right where germs first try to enter. Clear is a hygiene product recommended for daily use, drug-free, non-drowsy, and safe for all ages. Just a quick spray in the morning and evening helps you cleanse your nose. Don't just hope for protection, create it. Get Clear Nasal Spray, your daily defense. Clear Nasal Spray is available at retailers nationwide and online. Check out Xlear.com for our special offers. That's Xlear.com.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for supporting our sponsors. And know that I take great care in vetting our sponsors and selecting products that I think will be of interest to you and potential utility, and that I legitimately believe in. So when we share information, hopefully it's augmenting the content of these podcasts.
Yeah. Got an email from Jerry. I started with the very painful shingles around the beginning of January. I did see my doctor and I got medication. I still have redness where the rash was, and a very annoying tingling nerve endings. It's now the end of February that he's sent us this email. He had this in the beginning of January. Do you sell, or is there a product I could be taking to help this heal faster?
Well, no, not really. I think the issue is post-herpetic neuralgia, the pain that people experience afterwards, is tough to treat. There may be some evidence around alpha-lipoic acid, which has some anti-neuropathy effects as a form of neuropathic pain. I would also suggest considering CBD, and especially the relief product that has PEA and CBD. Ultimately, sometimes you have to take medications like Neurontin. Sometimes you need to take antidepressant medications because they actually do have an impact on the way that your brain processes pain signals.
Yeah. A note about alpha-lipoic acid. If you do take this, Geraldine, and by the way, she's 81 years old.
And that typically older people get more, their just immune system doesn't respond well.
It's not a matter of taking 300 milligrams of alpha-lipoic acid twice a day. You need like 2,000 milligrams of the stuff.
But be careful with that because it has to be taken with food.
Yes, absolutely with food. Otherwise, it could cause
stomach pain.
Quite a bit of, you don't trade one discomfort for another, right? So there you go, Jerry. Oh, we hope you feel better soon.
Yeah, I mean, tough problem. And for some reason, older people who are frail are more susceptible to the post-herpetic neuralgia, which can be very devastating. And, hence an argument sometimes, maybe consider taking the Shingrix shot. Although, sometimes people feel crappy when they take the shot. It's usually that they don't have profound side effects that are lasting from the shot.
I want to know if the German guy who took 217,
what else he took,
if he took any of those as well. That would be interesting to know. I would be interested to know.
It'd be interesting. You just had his singular fear was COVID, but he wasn't worried about anything else. Yeah,
not anything else. Okay, all right. Best of luck to you, Geraldine. All right. We've got an email from Lynn. Hi, Dr. Hoffman and Leyla. Protein is touted for those on a low-calorie diet and for seniors.
Yeah.
By the way, we don't like low-calorie diets. It would have to be a completely rare occasion that I would even recommend that for somebody. They'd have to be extremely metabolic.
Like lose 40 pounds in 40 days.
Right. We don't subscribe. We don't ascribe to that. I was looking for a protein shake and noticed many of them contain carrageenan, which I understand is considered a carcinogen.
Yeah.
So
it's okay.
Yeah.
We got to differentiate because carrageenan, processed carrageenan, is a recognized carcinogen.
Yes.
Okay.
And carrageenan or carrageenan, not sure which way to pronounce it, it's a derivative of seaweed.
Right. And so there are various levels of processing of carrageenan. There's actually some a type of carrageenan that's highly processed that's outlawed because it is carcinogenic.
Yeah.
I hearken back to an experiment that I learned early in my career. I learned about it in the 1980s, where when they are obliged to test cosmetics on animals, it's actually a form of animal cruelty because what they do is they expose animals to cosmetic ingredients to see if they're safe.
Yeah.
And they have what's called a rat paw experiment. Now, ordinarily, a rat paw, if you put like a cosmetic on a rat paw, is probably not going to do much. But in order to sensitize the rat paw to whatever ingredient they're putting there, whatever perfume or additive or, whatever, benzalkonium chloride or, all these crazy ingredients you see in cosmetics and antiperspirants and, shampoos and things, they inject the rat paw with carrageenan to create an inflammation.
Oh.
And then they apply the cosmetic.
Oh.
And they see if the cosmetic worsens the inflammation. It's like a rat paw assay for safety.
Wow.
And so that demonstrates that indeed carrageenan is pro-inflammatory. But guess what? When we take carrageenan, we don't inject it into our systems. However, I think you've seen pictures of an endoscopy on someone who has ulcerative colitis. It's all red. It's all ulcerated.
Yeah.
It's bleeding. So people with that kind of intestine, we tell them to stay away from carrageenan 100%.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
For ordinary people, the amount of, and by the way, carrageenan is a kind of a texturizer. It kind of makes ice cream more creamy.
Yes.
And, it's also used a lot in non-dairy products.
Right. It lends a creaminess
or like
to it.
Yogurt or
Yes.
something like to give it like a it's a thickener.
Yeah.
And it's, it's derived from seaweed, so it's considered safe. I think that it's probably okay in moderation. I think it's considered a processed ingredient.
It is.
Processed food ingredient.
Yeah.
But if you have like an intestinal condition, you really want, and we advise people.
You want to stay away from stuff like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because it could exacerbate your symptoms or make the condition worse over time.
So
if you ingest it regularly.
And you recently heard a lecture from the father of functional medicine, Jeffrey Bland, who we've had as a guest frequently. And, I think virtually anyone who's a professional in this field will recognize his name. And he actually had a little bit of a nuanced discussion on that. Can you describe that?
Well,
because you attended that lecture. I did not attend that lecture.
Yeah. And this was actually several years ago.
Okay.
He talked about that there's a difference between the regular so-called industrial carrageenan, or the food grade carrageenan, because I think there was some question because it was in some supplements and things like that. And that's the reason it was brought up. So, and that was the explanation that he gave.
Right.
Particularly that.
Right.
So, yeah. I mean, it's still something I read the labels of everything, but most of the food I buy doesn't have a label on it.
Right.
Well, really? It's not in a box?
It goes a little into discussion of microparticles.
Yeah.
And we suggest that people avoid things like titanium because it's a microparticle. It's a white coloring ingredient, but it actually has a shard-like effect, like glass shards in the intestinal tract.
And it tastes.
Especially for people who have intestinal disorders. Mm-hmm. But
these are things that may injure the GI tract. And in anybody who is vulnerable there, we want to remove all of that. Toothpaste and the mouthwash.
Right.
Besides in your ice cream.
Contains certain abrasives.
Yeah. So it's best to stay with. Lynn, I know that there are lots of protein shakes on the market that don't have any carrageenan in them. You will find them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you will find them. And they're on full script. So go to dearhoffman.com, go to the store, you'll see it there. There are many different varieties of various protein shakes. And by the way, for seniors, you want, protein supplement is a good idea to kind of help combat sarcopenia. I don't know that it will combat it once it's set in. You want to be on a good regimen of that and some strength training, getting adequate protein anyway in your diet. Whey protein is beneficial in that regard.
So I'm going to tell you what I have I'm routinely now. I'm having usually some ice, some mac milk or almond milk, some a half an avocado, or alternatively some frozen mango or some frozen strawberry. You get a little sugar from that as opposed to the avocado. If you're avoiding sugar, that's not a great idea. Then I add a scoop of whey protein powder, a teaspoon of creatine, because creatine is good not just for the muscles, it's also good for the brain, according to studies. Some colostrum, some NT factor.
And some reacted magnesium.
No, I don't put it.
No. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I do.
yeah,
You're right. I do. I use
powder.
it as a sweetener because it has stevia in it. Thank you. I get my magnesium. Thank you. Right.
Good for energy.
And I also will put in some. I'm using urolithin A, which is under the MitoPure brand. I'm putting it in as a powder. And kind of. I might flavor it with maca, or I might put in some flavonaturals. The flava.
Cocoa.
Yeah. And I'll do that before a show and it's like, yeah, I'm ready to go. Like my brain is firing on all cylinders because there's actually studies that even show in young people, not cognitively impaired oldsters, but in young people that you get a little cognitive improvement from taking high flavanol cocoa.
Mm-hmm.
But when I do that, I'm getting like 900 milligrams, which is like in a scoop. That's your daily requirement. And it blends well with a vanilla flavoring.
Very, very nice.
Yeah.
Very, very nice. Okay. Lynn, there you go. Thank you for your question. Got an email from Meyer. Dr. Hoffman, 2 years ago, we noticed what looked like blood in my 3-year-old grandson's stool. He's now 5. A colonoscopy at that time determined he had ulcerative colitis.
My goodness.
That's so young.
Yeah.
That's so young.
Yeah.
He was put on medication and managed with it. Time passed and the diarrhea with blood worsened, and he went for another colonoscopy and some blood work. He was put on Humira injections for a few weeks with no improvements.
They're going to have to go down the list of medications. They have like 4 or 5 now different medications for ulcerative colitis.
So in addition to the Humira, they're also giving him prednisone, and we're told that he has pancolitis.
Pancolitis means everywhere. It's like, the way you understand that is like when they talk about somebody who's pansexual, it means like everything.
Oh, I thought that was trisexual.
No. Tri is just 3 things. Pan means
try anything is what I meant.
So pan means throughout. It's like it's the lower, the middle, the upper. Mm-hmm. The right side, the left side, the transverse colon. Everything is inflamed. So bad. Yeah, bad. And we would want to look at what are some of the antecedents. Was there breastfeeding? Was there not breastfeeding? Was it C-section? Was there, foods were introduced to the child, or any number of things.
Diet,
genetic component.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Oh, that's just.
It's terrible. It's just such a young age. Yeah.
Yeah.
But is there a place for the SCD, specific carbohydrate diet?
In a 5-year-old, absolutely.
Sure.
Because there's enough carbohydrate there for the child. It's not like it's a low-carb diet or anything like that.
So get the book, Breaking the Vicious Cycle.
Yes. Yes.
And by the way, a lot of parents are using that for their autistic children who are very young.
Yeah.
So it's doable. And you can actually find, it's kind of lonely to try this, am I the only one doing this?
Yeah.
You go online, you will find a lot of support groups.
There's a wonderful community at breakingtheviciouscycle.info. That's breakingtheviciouscycle.info. I think they completely overhauled the website. It looks so much nicer, so much better. There's a list of legal, illegal
community there and
foods. There's community. There's recipes.
Food sources.
There's everywhere to get started. That would be where I would go.
Yeah. And so while it is unusual for a child to have ulcerative colitis, it's unfortunately becoming more common. But probably the biggest reason why children are being put on this is because of the benefits on the microbiome of the specific carbohydrate diet for autistic children. Changing the microbiome has a beneficial brain effect.
Yeah.
And in fact, this is actually the predicament of Elaine Gottschall, who wrote Breaking the Vicious Cycle, is she had a child very young who had colitis. And she's dead now. So this happened like probably in maybe the 50s or the 60s. And she went around to all the doctors and they said, "Oh, I'm sorry, your child's going to have a colectomy."
Yeah.
And she said, "Well, that's not acceptable." And she finally found an old German doctor who had been trained in Germany.
Dr. Haas?
Yeah. Good memory. Together we have an intact memory. It's sort of like 50% you, 50% me. It's like adds up to 100%. So Dr. Haas was of this old German school of diet therapy. Where before the advent of a lot of medications, that's all they had.
Yeah.
And so he said, "Well, there is this diet, and it's very effective, but you must eliminate all the grains. No grain."
What a great German accent.
I hung out in Germany. So anyway, so she said, "Well, that sounds crazy, but I'll do it." And her child got better.
Yes.
And not only that, but her child was also exhibiting signs of what was then called infant or childhood schizophrenia. Now, today there is no such thing as childhood schizophrenia. Schizophrenia develops in adolescence and 20-somethings.
Yeah.
So what the child had probably was a form of autism before the popularity of the diagnosis of autism. Well, upon the death of Elaine Gottschall, which happened, 10, 15 years ago, I interviewed that child, who is now a PhD, super successful,
Wow.
mainstreamed, no signs of personality disorder or anything, and cured of her ulcerative colitis.
Thanks to her
which is a
mother.
testimony to her. It just takes a mom,
Yeah.
that tenacity to. And by the way, she then, she was a housewife,
Uh-huh.
and so she went back to school, obtained a degree in biochemistry and molecular biology, and then, with her credentials, she began to write and proselytize on behalf of this dietary approach.
Yeah.
And she laid the foundation for this understanding of the microbiome. What is breaking the vicious cycle? It's breaking the vicious cycle of food feeding the bad bacteria.
Yes.
And causing bacterial proliferation that causes toxicity, that causes autoimmunity, that causes
Inflammation and
Yeah.
inflammatory bowel
So
disease.
you break the vicious cycle. How do you break it? Well, you can put the brakes on it with powerful immunosuppressive medication, but you can also break it by feeding the bacteria different food,
Yes.
and it changes the composition of
Right.
the
Different
microbiome.
food.
Yeah.
Eliminating the food that is most problematic.
Yeah.
All of that. So, yeah. Meyer, highly recommended. Go get the book, Breaking the Vicious Cycle, and go to the website immediately, breakingtheviciouscycle.info, I-N-F-O. That's the place to
And
go.
then there are various supplements that can be, because these children have nutritional deficiencies because they're not absorbing
Yeah.
properly. So I think this is a case for an opportunity to see a nutritionist who's experienced in pediatrics, because I might demur on seeing a 5-year-old child,
Right.
because I do adult medicine.
Sure.
Although I've treated, adolescents for this.
So, all right. Best of luck, Meyer, to your family, to your grandson. Okay. We've got an email from Betsy. Hi, Dr. Hoffman. I have chronic fatigue, and
What was the first word?
I have moderate chronic fatigue.
Oh, I thought you said monic chronic.
Chronic. I have chronic fatigue.
Moderate chronic fatigue?
I have moderate chronic fatigue, and have heard.
I'm a little tired.
I'm a little tired, but
little
not so
tired.
much. I'm a little
Yeah.
moderate chronic fatigue, and have heard that many naturopaths utilize an organic acid test.
Okay.
You know the test, right?
Yeah.
But mainstream docs I've asked for have never heard of this.
Yeah. Well,
Are
they
you
should-
familiar with
Well,
it?
the type of doctor who knows about organic acid tests are these geneticists, and also people who study metabolic diseases and mitochondropathies, which are rare disorders of the mitochondria, where some people have, difficulty processing energy, and these are genetic disorders. But, we know that the mitochondria, it's not like they're fine or they're completely screwed up.
Right.
There's like a gradation.
Yeah.
And what the organic acid test will sometimes speak to is your efficiency of making energy, utilizing energy, and also some vitamin and supplement pathways. So it's a useful test. I used to do it, but I don't do it that much anymore because it's sometimes TMI, too much information.
Yes.
And I think you can do a lot before you need one of those tests in just supporting people with a broad spectrum of nutrition.
Yeah.
But in patients who are very enigmatic,
Yeah.
you may want to do that. Like, I can't figure out whether this person is not responding to the usual
Yeah.
therapies.
Then that's when you really go into the
Yeah.
weeds with the organic acids test, I
Yeah.
think, when every other stone is.
But it's not,
Yeah.
I think standard physician, it's not like it's a renegade test
No.
or a quackery test. It's just not applied for people with moderate fatigue. I mean,
Yeah.
if a child has what's called like flaccid limb syndrome, like they can't move or their muscles are completely underdeveloped or something. Oh, maybe they will get an organic acid test.
Yeah.
Like maybe that can spot
That's poorly functioning
probably
mitochondria.
in certain pathways that are, under, they're called rare diseases,
Yeah.
rare genetic diseases. But it could lend some insights for people who have ordinary run-of-the-mill fatigue. But
Yeah.
before you go there, you could look at some basic, look at the basics.
Why are you tired?
Look at the
You sleep
thyroid.
enough?
Look at the thyroid. Are you in menopause? Are you sleeping enough? Are you
all of
having
that?
sleep apnea?
Are you overdoing caffeine? That'll make you tired.
Are you insulin resistant?
Yeah.
Which can cause fatigue.
Right.
Any number of things.
Any number of
Did you
things.
have some autoimmune disorder like like a
Something.
Hashimoto's
Exactly.
or something?
Did you go through some kind of an infection that you haven't come out of, the other side?
That's that too. That's
Or are you on any medication that is causing your fatigue?
And this can be challenging. It's like there's
Do you have a
somebody who
vitamin
goes-
deficiency?
Right. Yeah. Yep.
Are you low in B12?
A woman, iron, is key.
Iron, B12. Yeah. Absolutely. There you go, Betsy.
So we have time for one more question.
Okay. This comes from Sally. Recently I had an outbreak of an undetermined type of dermatitis on my shins, moved to the surrounding areas of my legs, itching, burning rash described as raised pimples, reddish in color, sensitive to touch and heat. My dermatologist said atopic dermatitis, and I was given pimecrolimus cream.
Okay, so what that is now, it's, I think, a variant on tacrolimus, which is used, it's protopic is the tacrolimus. I guess this new medication it's very expensive, and it is sometimes, sometimes covered partially by insurance, but sometimes you have to have a big copay.
It didn't work for Sally.
It didn't work.
It made it worse.
Oh, wow.
In
That's
fact.
weird.
And then another visit to a dermatologist gave her Opzelura, which is ruxolitinib. It's a
that's
nib.
a monoclonal.
Yeah. Opzelura, which was very helpful. The rash is nearly gone, except for remaining stubborn areas.
I think I answered this question on my radio program, but I'll answer it again. It's either the same person or the person the same.
Ruxolitinib.
Yeah, okay. So there's these powerful immunosuppressant drugs that work on, inflammatory pathways, monoclonal antibodies. Actually, no, this may be not a monoclonal antibody, but a blocker of a certain pathway, like interleukin, some pathway. Okay, so it solves the problem, but it'd be nice to get at the bottom of the problem, which is it the result of a food intolerance? Is it the result of a lack of essential fatty acids? Is it a result of could zinc be helpful for repairing the skin? And the other thing is, I sometimes like to use low-dose naltrexone in these types of cases because it's a mild immunomodulator. But it's a prescription. You got to get it from a doctor. So, I think dermatology and integrative medicine, I think there's a lot of potential for addressing dermatological problems.
Yes.
With diet.
Yeah.
And with certain supplements. Fish oil, SPM, for example, specific pro-resolving mediator is helpful for working on the leukotriene pathway that is, partially responsible for
looking for food allergies, intolerances, too much, anything in the toxic exposures.
Make sure, of course, that you get a test for celiac disease because there are skin manifestations of celiac disease.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that, if you've been to enough dermatologists that they will run that test. Mm-hmm. But if for some reason that's been overlooked, make sure you get that checked because that could be,
cause.
There is a form of skin lesion that actually should, on analysis of a biopsy, the pathology report should render a diagnosis of dermatitis herpetiformis, which is a pathognomonic or very specific.
It's the skin version of celiac.
Exactly.
Right?
So I presume that that's been looked at and that this is definitely not that. But, just dot our I's and cross our T's here.
Yeah.
And even sometimes in the absence of a celiac diagnosis, elimination of things like wheat, dairy, what's called an oligoandrogenic diet or what is called a paleo diet can help a lot of skin problems. It helps acne often. It helps
a
psoriasis.
Whole lot of things.
A lot,
Doing an elimination diet like that would be very helpful. It would be worth your while, Sally, to do that.
and go through an inventory of what your shampoos and your soaps and your laundry detergents, just to make sure there are no ingredients that could trigger a skin reaction.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Well,
Reminder.
That kind of wraps it up for today.
Yeah.
So keep sending your questions, please, to questions@drhoffman.net. And check out drhoffmanstore.com for your supplement needs. And we'll be back again next week with another edition of Q&A with Leyla. So thanks for joining us. I'm Dr. Ronald Hoffman, and this is the Intelligent Medicine Podcast. I want to thank you for listening to the Intelligent Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or your favorite podcast app, and get new episodes automatically downloaded every weekday. And please give us a rating and review. It truly helps new people discover intelligent medicine. The Intelligent Medicine Podcast is for general informational purposes only and does not constitute the practice of medicine, nursing, or other professional healthcare services, including the giving of medical advice, and no doctor-patient relationship is formed. The use of information on this podcast or materials linked from this podcast is at the user's own risk. The content of this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Users should not disregard or delay in obtaining medical advice for any medical condition they may have and should seek the assistance of their healthcare professionals for any such conditions. Finally, please visit drhoffman.com and discover everything intelligent medicine has to offer, including frequently updated, unbiased health news and fully vetted product and supplement recommendations.
This is Leyla Muden, registered dietitian nutritionist. I maintain a private practice and see patients regularly. If you require a nutrition consult with me but live out of town, there's no need to travel to New York City. I have telephone and telehealth consultations with clients from all over the country. Please visit drhoffman.com for more information. And to set up an appointment, call 212-779-1744. That's 212-779-1744. I look forward to being a collaborator in your healthcare.